Ricky, you've been waiting for a long time to speak to Goldbridge about Bruno Fernandes. You were meant to do a show a couple of weeks ago, I believe. Yeah. I feel like the odds have gone in the Bruno positivity favour, if that kind of makes sense. What do you want to bring up about Bruno Fernandes, and do you think he'll be successful in the new Amorim setup?
He'd have to change the way he plays, but hopefully this manager can get him to change the way he plays, because I don't think he's going to be too happy with somebody giving the ball away as much as Bruno does, even though he's supposedly trying the Hollywood balls all the time. I don't think it is that. I think he gives the ball away sloppily too often, where it's an easy pass even, or he chooses the wrong pass. But whether he can be successful, he's just not my type of player. And if you're going to try and get a player to, like they say, a leopard doesn't change its spots. If you're going to try and get a player to play differently, why not just get a different player who plays like you want him to play?
What's your problem with Bruno then? Is it would you sell him, or is it a character? Is it a style of play? Because I know from doing content with you for a while that you've never really taken to Bruno.
I did an interview which is still on there. You still find it, when we played Wolves at Old Trafford the day he made his debut with Flex. It was outside on the United stand, and there and then on the day he made his debut, I said he gave the ball away too much. Wasn't for me. The very first day I saw him, and I wanted it to work great. And if you see that, if you look at that interview, you will see Juan Mata was playing that day, and I believe the best way to play football is to get the ball down, keep it simple, keep it moving, like Juan Mata plays it. But I also think that rubs off on other players. If you've got 2 or 3 players playing like that, and Bruno played great for it, and I say it in the interview, played great for half an hour. Then after about half an hour, once he'd settled down, he started to try long balls. He tried a fancy flick. I say, it just went, for me, crap after half an hour. So for half an hour, he was a good player for United, and since then, he's not been good enough. And some of the things I want to bring up, I mean, if you speak to anybody who's a big fan of Bruno, they always talk about numbers. It's very, very rare, do you agree, that you hear somebody say, oh, in the first season, he was great, I don't know, at dropping a shoulder and sending somebody that way, or he worked harder than he works today, or his shooting was better, or it's always just the numbers have dropped away. Now, I don't agree with that. I do not agree with that. In his first season, his first full season, he scored 18 goals in the Premier League, 9 of which were penalties. Now, last season, when everyone was saying he was crap, and mainly they say that because the numbers have fallen away, he scored 10 goals, 6 of which were penalties. So, 6 of which were penalties. Or was it 4? Sorry, I've mixed it up this. 5, it was 9.
I'm not even having to say anything.
He scored 9 goals. He scored 9 goals. 5 of which were penalties.
Where's your notepad, Ricky? You've got it written down in there.
I should have written it all down. He scored 6 non-penalty goals, let's put it that way. However many goals he scored 6 non-penalty goals. So in the season that they're all raving about, I'm talking about Premier League, by the way, forget the League Cup and the Europa League and all that. You've got to go off Premier League goals for numerous reasons. Obviously, you can play against substandard teams, but you can also play lots of games in the cup. If you're comparing one player to another, or one season to another, as we're doing at the moment, you can play a lot of games in the cup, or you could play just a few games if you get beat early doors. So he scored 9 non-penalty goals in the Premier League in the season that everybody's raving about, and in the season where people are basically saying he was crap last season, he scored 6 non-penalty goals. The difference is 3. Is it really worth writing home about? I want to say one other thing about that. The difference is 3. Now, I believe in football there's going to be a natural fluctuation. If you look at Harry Kane, for example, he might score 28 goals one season and 33 the next. He's not going to think, oh, I played better this season. Or if he scores 28 one season and 24 the next, he's not going to think, oh, I didn't play as well this season. It's just a natural fluctuation. It's like if you're going to go to the bookies, let's look at Bruno's first season. He scored 9 goals. If you're going to go to the bookies and have a bet on what he's going to score, don't back 9. You know what I mean? It's unlikely to be the same again. It's just a natural. Even if you get the same amount of chances and play just as well, you're probably going to score 7 and 8 or 10 or 11. You might get 9 again, but it's just a little bit unlikely when you're comparing 2 seasons that the number's going to be exactly the same.
But
so he scored 6. And it's going to fluctuate anyway. Doesn't mean he played any better or any worse. You could say he played better or worse if he scored 19 and then the following season scored 4. That's different. But when the fluctuation's 2, 3, 4 goals, it's just natural fluctuation.
I think with Bruno, I mean, look, I do take on board that he can be very wasteful with the ball, and I think that is a massive frustration. But then I think when you look at the way Amorim's going to play, he's going to stand and fall on whether he retains what he's been doing for the last 2 years, which can be highly frustrating on how he gives the ball away, or he's going to have to adapt to this system that everyone's going to have to adapt to. In the 3-4-3, he's going to play in one of the pivots behind the striker, and in that position, we can't have the Hollywood pass or the wastefulness. So I just think with Bruno that there is a player there that has done what every United player has done, which is come in and post a good first year, and then progressively it's dropped off. And some of these players have got to, Ricky, because if every single player I think, like you think about Bruno, isn't going to change, then we're done. No manager's going to be able to come in, because we could have the same conversation about Dalot, we could have the same conversation about Rashford, we can have the same conversation about Casemiro, Harry Maguire. Some of these players are going to have to step up to the plate. And I think that the Portuguese connection, I don't think he will lose the captaincy either. We've just given him this massive contract, which, to be honest, I'm not convinced we should have given that contract out if it's reported to be 300k and another 3 years. But that suggests that the club see Bruno Fernandes as a focal point, and I think Amorim will as well. The interesting thing is that a mistake or will it be a success? Because I do agree that to be a success, he has got to change. And you mentioned Mata. I like Odegaard, De Bruyne. These are number 10s that are magnetic. Like the ball doesn't leave them. Whereas Bruno, I think, too often looks to play, and he's said it in interviews. It's not like you or I are identifying a weakness. He knows it. He says, I'm going to keep doing the risky ball. But the trouble with the risky ball is that the possession doesn't. I think that's mine, which is in there. The possession, you lose possession when you play a bad pass. And Amorim's system is going to be about possession. It's going to be about high possession, and it's going to be about dominating the opposition. And what you need to do then, as a number 10, and Odegaard's brilliant at it, is when you get the ball, you probe. I'll have it back. Oh, that pass isn't quite right. And it's playing the right passes at the right time. And that is Bruno's weaknesses. But I think that he is going to change. And I think if he doesn't change, then it will probably be such a big mistake from Amorim that we could be back here in 3 years like Ten Hag, who put so much focus on Rashford, put so much focus on Bruno. And ultimately, over the last 12 months, both players and Casemiro, 3 big earners, fell off. So I think that he will be massive for Amorim, and I'm expecting him to step up. But I do take on board, and anybody in the chat, because I've said it myself, he does give the ball up a lot. That has to change, but I think he's got it in him to change. I think he has that, but we've needed a manager to change him, and I think for whatever reason, he just kept doing his thing, and other players kept doing their thing.
Ricky, I wanted to come on to you, because you look at Bruno Fernandes and, he plays international football for Portugal. Everybody thinks he does well for Portugal. That's a narrative that goes around. You watch Portugal, you'll have your own ideas on that. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer brought him in, played him. Erik ten Hag loved him, made him his captain. Managers do tend to like the player. So for you, with Ruben Amorim, the way he plays Bruno Fernandes, will that make you judge him as a manager as well?
Oh no, I'll add something as well.
Cool.
These players at United, some of them are shirkers, some of them don't work hard. I would always say this about Bruno. He will play with a broken ankle. He will play every single minute. And I know Gary Neville said that time when we lost 7-0, he was trying to substitute himself off, and he never apologised for it. There's absolutely no way Bruno Fernandes would do that. So effort and dedication-wise, I don't think he can be questioned.
I agree with that. He certainly works. Sometimes it's not channeled in the right direction. His work rate. I hate the way he goes charging up the pitch, trying to challenge goalkeepers, and sometimes chasing around the penalty area when rather he just sat back in his position.
I think that's a good point. I think if I've said it before on my streams, if a manager's just said to him, "There's a 20-metre square box," don't leave it. In fact, I'm going to stick a little bit of a probe on your pants, and every time you walk out, you're going to get an electric shock. Because you're right, he'll go right back, left back, you know, and it can be chaotic for somebody who is the focal point.
Yeah, it is chaotic, and it leaves a big hole in the middle of the field at times as well. When he's, you know, people do call him a midfield player. He supposedly is a midfield player, but for me, he plays just off the striker so much, and then because he's just off the striker, that gives the opportunities. He's already that far up that when the ball goes back to the keeper, he tries to charge him down. But I think, what did you ask me then? I forgot.
I was just saying, will you judge Amorim by how he uses Bruno?
Look, if he can change him and get him playing better, it'll be a different kettle of fish. I really don't think it can happen. I really don't. Like I've said, I don't think I've seen him play better for Portugal, to be fair. So I don't.
Do you think he'll have him out of the team then?
I think he'll pick him, but it doesn't mean that we can't do better. We don't score enough goals. He's going to play. If he's going to stick with this formation, and I know there's talk of the wide men being wingers, I think there'll be full backs to start with, and we'll soon know come Sunday. And then obviously you've got two supposedly defensive-minded.
He's going to have 4 players behind him, 4 midfielders behind him. I'm talking about I'm counting the number of players here that are going to leave how many forwards, if you like. So he's going to have a back 3. You're going to have 2 holding midfield players, and you're going to have 2 wide men that I think will be natural full-backs to start with. That's 7 players. It only leaves 3 attacking players, and we've got a lot of attacking players to fit into 3 spots. So it'd be interesting to see. If Bruno's one of them, you know, which he probably almost certainly will be to start with, you know, who else are we going to have? If he wants to play with a 9, I'm hearing rumours about it being Rashford. I just cannot see for the life of me that it can be Rashford, and I'll be staggered. I mean, I'll give him a bit of leeway. I mean, obviously Rashford could do it and suddenly start scoring goals.
I think it'd have to be short term. You know, everything I've seen of Rashford as a striker is he can do a job. But if Amorim's coming in and going, I've figured it out, Rashford up front, he don't like to play with his back to goal. He doesn't like physicality. And as much as I think it's incredible, so many of our chat have said that he's lost a yard of pace this year. And I don't know how you do that at 27. But, I mean, that was the thing where I thought, you know, sometimes put a quick lad up front, run onto it. That's where he's good because his finishing's good. But I can't see how he's a sustainable number 9 because whatever the criticism of Rasmus, he puts himself about a bit. Yeah, he is physical. So, yeah.
Goldbridge, that's the end of the clip. I'm sure you enjoyed it. In fact, I bet that's the best clip you've ever watched. So there's no reason not to subscribe to the channel, click the bell icon so you never miss a clip again. In fact, smash a like on the video because we all know only legends like videos and you are all legends. So please smash a like on the video and we will see you again on the next one. Thank you very much for watching as always.